Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 6th meeting of the Ann Arbor City Council. If you're able, please rise and join us for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would our clerk please call the roll of council?
Councilmember Dish?
Here.
Councilmember Harrison?
Here.
Councilmember Watson?
Here.
Councilmember Malik?
Here.
Councilmember Medina?
Here.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
Here.
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Councilmember Iyer?
Here.
Councilmember Ackman?
Here.
Councilmember Briggs?
Here.
Councilmember Cornell?
Here.
We have a quorum.
May I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda, moved by Councilmember Ackman, seconded by Councilmember Iyer. Discussion of the agenda. All in favor? All opposed? The agenda is approved. Do we have communications today from our city administrator?
No, Mayor. Thank you.
In the absence of introductions, we come to public comment reserve time. Public comment reserve time is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to council and the community about matters of municipal interest. To speak at public comment reserve time, one needs to have signed up in advance by contacting our city clerk. Speakers in all instances will have 3 minutes in which to speak, so please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk or the time clock will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time has expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Our first speaker today is Bella Mazzieri.
Good evening. My name is Bella Mazzaris, and tonight I'd like to talk about the proposed special event ordinance before you for first reading. I help organize Ann Arbor Bike Party, and we are concerned that this ordinance would significantly impact the community's ability to host this and other culturally significant events. By imposing new restrictions and hurdles on hosting events like ours, the city would create additional work and danger for already stretched thin organizers. The requirement to apply for a permit 60 days in advance of events like ours is difficult to meet for small groups like us. We typically see more than 100 riders, but the event is organized by a loose group of maybe 10 or so volunteers. We typically don't have a route for the ride until a week or two out. Simply put, the 60-day notice requirement is onerous and unrealistic on the timelines we are working with. This ordinance would also require that everyone at special events follow the law. While this seems innocuous, it would essentially force us organizers to be cops, it seems, which we're not. One rider drinking alcohol or disobeying traffic laws, for example, would expose us organizers to civil infractions with a fine of up to $1,000. The proposed ordinance says that permission for events shall be issued, among other things, on the basis of, quote, the degree of interference with the use of sidewalks and streets for public travel. The appropriate degree of interference is not defined, it seems, and it is possible that these grounds could be used to restrict events like ours. The additional requirements clause would also allow a less friendly city administration to impose additional onerous rules on groups like ours. It would be nearly impossible to collect and verify liability waivers, for example, and we as a group cannot afford to carry insurance. An unfriendly administrator in many city departments could stop events like ours in their tracks. Once this happens, we would be subject to increased fines and even jail time if we continue to run the event. The bottom line is that this ordinance would significantly restrict the ability of groups like Bike Party to host important community events. By allowing the city to have a heavier hand in approving events like this, groups like us would be exposed to additional risk with no clear benefit to the community. These restrictions on public gatherings are excessive, unnecessary, and risk shutting down valued community gatherings. On behalf of Bike Partiers, organizers, and community members across the city, I'm asking you to vote no on the proposed special events ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lionel Gavlin.
Mayor, I believe this caller is on Zoom. Lionel Galvin, if you're on Zoom, press *6 to raise your hand. sorry, press star 9 to raise your hand. Mayor, I don't think this caller is online.
Our next speaker is Alex Lowe.
Alex Lowe is on Zoom. Alex Lowe, go ahead.
Evening, this is Alex Lowe. Just wanted to say that C1 is very, very overly broad and is sufficiently vague such that it could be enforced on any large group of people. I think those should be rejected right now and taken back to the drawing board. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Manish Nagiri.
Hello everyone, my name is Manish Magiri and I'm a student doing IB1 Global Politics project about affordable housing in Washington County. For my project, I'm looking at this question. To what extent are local government policies and non-profit organizations actually helping with the lack of affordable housing in Washington County? I chose this...
Ma'am, do not interrupt another speaker, please.
I chose this topic because affordable housing is something that I think is pretty easy to overlook. There are a lot of expensive homes in the areas around Ann Arbor, but at the same time, there are people who are struggling to find housing that they can actually afford. I wanted to understand what local governments are actually doing about that and what makes it difficult to solve. Since this meeting is focused on planning and zoning, I wanted to ask a few questions. First, what do you think is the biggest thing preventing Ann Arbor from creating more affordable housing right now? Is it zoning laws, funding, community opposition, or something else? My second question is about the people who already live here. How do you balance concerns from current homeowners with the need to create more affordable housing for people who are struggling to afford a place to live? And my last question is probably the one I'm the most interested for my project. How much power does the Planning Commission actually have to make changes to housing affordability when there are developers, homeowners, and other groups who might disagree with those changes? I'm asking because one of the things I'm looking at in global politics is power, and I'm interested in whether having the legal ability to make a change actually means you could actually make the change happen. Thank you for letting me speak, and thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Martin Bloet.
My name is Martin Bloet. I live on Berkeley Avenue, right across the street from Michigan Stadium. I also own property on East Hoover Avenue, right next to Wolverine Village and right across the street, or right across from the railroad tracks. It's in relation to the Hoover property. I wanted to offer some comments today on two of the agenda items. I want to go on record with my support of C4, the East Hoover Street closure on football Saturdays, but as the only regular game day owner-occupant on East Hoover between Green and Division, I'd ask to work with law enforcement to ensure the continued legal enjoyment of the property. Unlike Main Street property owners, when the street is closed there, I don't need constant access during the closure. Since 2016, I've invited the public to a community tailgate prior to Michigan football games. The event series will continue this fall. The proposed street closure doesn't really affect our pregame activity, as the staff and food truck partners are generally on site well in advance of the 3 hours. But food trucks have enjoyed leaving during the third or fourth quarter when pedestrian traffic is lightest on Hoover. I'd appreciate an opportunity to coordinate limited egress with law enforcement before game ends. Apart from that, I support the closure. I'm also here to support the ordinance to update special events in the city code. With respect to concerns brought up by other commenters, I'm looking at something that affects what we do out there. In addition to the tailgate I host on game days, I'd like to expand community programming on the property to include, among other things, live music outdoors, game nights, watch parties that are all prevented right now by the city code. The code is actually written in a way that it seems to allow it, but it's interpreted in a way that outdoor events like those are are denied. Since the West Park band shell is beyond repair and there are really no outdoor options in Ann Arbor, my property is in a great location to offer the community an option. It's commercially zoned with no residentially zoned neighbors closer than 500 feet. I've even been approached by local businesses about hosting outdoor events. I'd like to consider spring and summer concerts, just expanded programming for the community. So I agree that the code guidelines would benefit from some clarification. And again, with respect to some of the other concerns brought up, I'd love to see the city code adopt something that addresses outdoor events like the ones we're proposing so that we can offer more to the Ann Arbor community. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andy Brosius.
Mayor, this caller is on Zoom. Andy Brushius, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. I want to speak on C1, the special events ordinance. It seems like a tremendous overreach. It looks way too broad. It looks like it will require multiple departments to approve private events on private property. I'm just not sure why current ordinances do not kind of handle this problem. It's unclear to me what exactly this is trying to solve, and I can't fathom what enforcement would look like except that it would necessarily be very selective. So I think this needs to go back to the drawing board. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Edward Platt.
Edward Platt, press *9 to unmute your phone. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I'm here on C1, the special event ordinance. I think it would pose an invasion of resident privacy, create a burden on city resources, and wouldn't really address any issue that matters. So we already have ordinances and laws regarding noise, alcohol, and other potential concerns. But maybe there's something else that it's meant to address. The other question I have is how will it be enforced? Are police going to go door to door, looking at people's windows, counting how many, if there are 100 people present? I hope not. Presumably then it's going to be complaint driven, which means it will then be the neighbors going door to door looking in people's windows. And that's not good for anyone either. Plus, when you have complaint-driven enforcement, that's obviously a situation that leads to selective enforcement, which negatively impacts minorities and other marginalized people. This leads to another question. If an officer shows up because of a complaint, do residents then have to allow that officer in without a warrant because there may or may not be 100 people in their house simply because of a complaint? So you might say this will only matter if this is observed while enforcing something else. But again, if we're already enforcing something else and we're using the laws and ordinances that are on the books, we don't need this proposed change. The one other thing I want to mention is the 60 days is very onerous. It makes organizing to respond to emergent situations impossible, and that's necessary for mutual aid, political activism, and a lot of other really crucial civic activities. So I just encourage City Council to reject the ordinance. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kathy Griswold.
Good evening. My first topic is CA12, the contract for the water treatment facility. And I can't speak in detail about the actual contract, but what I can say is that we need to invest in our water. We need to provide greater security, given what's happened in the last few days with water treatment facilities. And we also need to ensure that our sewer treatment facility has the resources that they need, because we are having reports of odor problems, odor that smelled all the way to WCC. This is not acceptable. I put in tickets in the past and they just get closed, so I don't know what that means. Number two, I received very upsetting message today that someone witnessed a woman on a scooter and her tire was caught in a crack in the road that had tar on it, but not asphalt, and so the scooter sort of caught in that crack, and she flew, thankfully, off the road because there was a lot of traffic on the other side of the road, and so this person took the woman to the hospital where she is being treated, and we've just got to be more aggressive in terms of our road surfaces, especially for our non-vehicle users. Our crosswalks also in terrible shape. I have another friend who says she has to lift her walker and be sort of on alert at all times so that the walker doesn't get stuck in uneven surfaces. We've also had a problem with A2 Fix-It. I could put in 50 tickets a day. We don't focus on operations. So what I've considered is creating a virtual plaque. When I was on the school board, we advocated for Skyline High School. Some people really like Skyline, some people don't. My name is on that plaque, and I've had to defend it. So what I think we need is a virtual plaque for the mayor and the council members, where we can identify when there is a crash who is actually the policymakers at that time so that AI can pick that up. And that may provide more incentive to prioritize operational issues. Like, why are we painting watermelon on our sidewalk and not painting our crosswalks? I don't know. It's a maintenance issue, but we need to take care of it. Lastly, two of the regions that I talked to mentioned workforce housing on the Concordia property. So I think we just have to keep talking about these things as if they're going to happen, and maybe they will. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Luis Vasquez.
Greetings, Mayor and Council. I came here tonight to bring your attention to some defacement of some public property, primarily the historic placards that are located on the Anson Brown building in Lower Town. And the other night when I was coming home from working the polls, I discovered that there were these were posted on, they were taped to the placards, okay? And I said to myself, this is inappropriate. These are public property, those placards. And regardless of whether or not the owner of the Anson Brown building has a beef with the city, this is an inappropriate way to voice their displeasure. Now, does anybody on council remember when Mayor Taylor threatened to bulldoze the Anson Brown building? No? Neither do I. So I removed these, and as I was coming here tonight, there were two more posted there. And there were also these posted on the North Side Grill. So I'm assuming that it may be the owner of the North Side Grill who is posting them on public property. It's fine if he puts them on the North Side Grill, but not on public property. One of those placards highlights the Underground Railroad and the Anson Brown building's importance to the Underground Railroad and the development of Ann Arbor proper. I gave one of these to the city attorney. I will give one to Mayor Taylor so he can dispose of it properly. And I will also save two of these to bring down to the police and file a police report and complain about this. And I would ask the city attorney to please look at issuing a cease and desist letter to prevent this from occurring again. Like I said, I will bring a complaint before the police and ask them to, maybe give a warning. Finally, I just wanted to point out a little video clip that I saw before the election of Attorney Tom Weider handing off something to Yusuf Rabi during a Washtenaw County Commission meeting. And I would like to see Mr. Weider disbarred.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Danielle DeSano-Smith.
Caller with the phone number 281. Press star 9 to unmute your phone. Go ahead. Caller with the phone number 281. Press star 9 to unmute your phone. Sorry, press star 6 to unmute your phone. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hi, you're audible.
Okay, hello. My name is Danielle DeSano-Smith. I'm honestly not an Ann Arbor resident, but I do own a child care and preschool in Pittsfield Township. And many of our families are Ann Arbor residents. And it's been recently brought to our attention this year after running summer camps for Ann Arbor families for 33 years that we are no longer welcome at any of the parks and pools, especially the new ones, most of them, many of them, Burr Pool, Mac Pool, Bicentennial, Fuller. And I'm just bringing questions to that. It just seems like an extreme discrimination, so to speak, and curious about why the rules are put in the way that they are. Wondering if there has been anybody else concerned about. I've gone by on my own, just without the group of children or with anybody else, and there doesn't seem to be an issue of overcrowding at all. So I'm trying to understand why we're being barred. And at the same time, these same schools, or the pools, the parks, are running their own privately paid programs, and those camps get to have access to it. So I'm bringing concern and attention, especially when you see things like $750,000 for park replacement or amendment and service and repairs. I'm just wondering why the kids parents that are paying the tax dollars aren't able to be a part of that, just because their parents are working during the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Nathan Carrillo.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Nathan Carrillo. I've lived in Ann Arbor almost my entire life and in the downtown area for most of the past 15 years. I pay rent in an unsubsidized housing unit, though I'm eligible for assisted living at 80% of the area median income. I'm not a new or wealthy individual, but I am concerned about the rapid deterioration of safety downtown, and especially the lack of acknowledgement that this is an issue deserving of action. I'm here because the city has an enforceable solicitation ordinance, Chapter 108, that it appears to have stopped enforcing entirely. Section 8 prohibits approaching within 2 feet of a person. Section 9 prohibits following someone who walks away. Section 13 prohibits soliciting patrons at outdoor restaurants. All three have been violated against me personally, repeatedly, almost daily. I've been followed, I've been approached within inches of my face, and I've been targeted while sitting at an outdoor table. And yet when these incidents are reported, nothing happens. No citations, no consequences. This matters beyond frustration. It creates legal exposure. When a municipality affirmatively invites the public onto its streets through business incentives and marketing, you have a fundamental obligation to keep those streets safe. When you know specific individuals are repeatedly violating ordinances and committing assaults, and you take no enforcement action to remedy the danger, you are creating a documented record of deliberate disregard for public safety. Under Michigan law, municipal immunity has exceptions. Specifically, when officials act with gross negligence or deliberate disregard for public safety, such as choosing to ignore the enforcement of a passed ordinance despite repeated incidents. Council rules prevent you from answering me right now, so I am putting these questions on the record for the city administrator and the chief of police to answer publicly. First, how many citations has the city issued under Chapter 108 in the past 12 months? And of those, how many were against repeat offenders? Second, given that Washtenaw County homelessness has increased 77% since 2022, and roughly the same dozen individuals generate the most enforcement calls, what specific strategies exist for targeted enforcement against known repeat violators as distinct from generic foot patrols? Many are not unhoused, but are housed residents who still repeatedly violate the ordinance. Third, is the council prepared to acknowledge on this record that the city is aware of these violations, has existing legal authority to address them, and has chosen not to exercise that authority? If an injury or a death occurs downtown as a result of conditions the city knows about and declines to act on, that choice will be part of the record too. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Henry Herskovitz.
Good evening. I'd like to address my remarks tonight to the high school students, those required by state law to learn about the Holocaust. The message I'd like to impart to them is that almost every Holocaust skeptic I've met first believed in the Holocaust narrative until some piece of information or story or personal experience flipped them from believer to skeptic. In my case, as I reported to council in 2016, it was disbelief in the claim that no one could produce even a single wartime photograph of a homicidal gas chamber. I felt certain that Holocaust scholar Deborah Lipstadt would expose this claim as false, but she could not and has not to this date. In 2018, I told the story of a Canadian woman named Monica Schaefer, who was attending the trial of German defense attorney Sylvia Stoltz. During a recess, Monica was apprehended by German authorities, tried for her thought crimes, and imprisoned for 10 months. This week, I asked Monica what event caused her to start doubting the Holocaust narrative, and she replied, 9/11 was the key to my awakening, albeit 10 years after that pivotal event, when I learned that prevailing narrative of what occurred that day was false. Later, she discovered that lying was not invented in 2001, and we had been deceived about World War II history. She recognized much later what her grade school teacher meant when he finished his Holocaust lecture by telling the students, "But the victors write the history books." What will it take for our high school students to question the history they are being taught? Will they join Monica and wonder why World Trade Center Building 7 fell on its own footprint without having been hit by a plane on 9/11? Will they take a reflective look at the assassination of John Kennedy in 1963 and the questionable claim that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone? Will they investigate Israel's attack on the USS Liberty in 1967 and the lame excuse that it was a case of mistaken identity? Or will they follow Candace Owens, who was unraveling the evidence in the assassination of her friend Charlie Kirk, unmasking in real time yet another fraud being perpetrated on the public? All it takes is an open mind and the realization that it's the victors who write the history and make the movies and write the laws. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Blaine Coleman.
Well, you just saw Election Day, and you saw that Yusuf Rabi ran for mayor against all the money in the world, including a whole lot of dark money, and he won. Mayor Christopher Taylor, who you see sitting here, is out in November. Out. This is the same mayor who publicly prayed for the state of Israel, which is a genocidal state. And you saw that soon-to-be Senator Abdul Rahman Es-Sayed ran against all the money in the world, like an ungodly amount of money. Haley Stevens and all that money she got. And who won? Abdul Rahman Es-Sayed won that U.S. Senate election against all the money in the world. So if you didn't know before, you should know now. Identifying yourself with the state of Israel, the genocide state, is a fast track to crashing and burning any kind of campaign you plan on running. It's a fast track to destroying your political career. And it should be. Tell me, what's the difference between the Nazi destruction of the Warsaw Ghetto and Israel's destruction of Gaza? What's the difference? Can anyone tell me? I don't think you can. There is no difference. In both cases, you have a Nazi state destroying countless human lives and all the infrastructure they need to survive. Now, we've been standing in this city council, the Ann Arbor City Council, for way over 20 years, demanding a resolution against military aid to Israel. Isn't it time that you, the Ann Arbor City Council, finally approved that resolution while you see genocide all around you in the Gaza Strip committed by Israel with your tax dollars and with your political support? Didn't these elections teach you anything? Support for Israel means your political career is dead. Don't you get it? An overwhelming majority of Democrats in the country and in Michigan and in Ann Arbor feel only revulsion at that genocide.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jeremy Haley. Our next speaker is Jeremy Haley.
Jeremy Haley, Ipsy Township. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Affordability keeps being brought up all the time, and I'm here to propose a progressive radical and how we can change that. We need to end all property taxes, end all income taxes, and go straight to a straight consumption tax, where everybody who has money or not pays the straight tax on a consumption tax. The schools will pay, and the universities, even the governments, will pay an adjusted half of that consumption tax to pay back into the system. And think about it, because you collect those taxes, you basically get your money back. All right? It's a progressive way to think about it, and guess what? If you guys ended property taxes alone, I would say $400 to $500 a month, but none of you probably care about that. But guess what I could do with that $400 to $500 a month? I could go out and actually go to a restaurant and buy extra dinner or two a week. I could go out to the store and buy something and spend that money, and you guys get the taxes. That's where it comes from. But guess what? Homeowners have expense of putting roofs on. Guess what? They might be able to save within 4 or 5 years the money to put the roof on, not have to worry about where the money is coming from. And for not having income tax, think how much that would save the city's budget and how much a accountants you have to have, how much accountants you'd have to have working in the state to do all that work, and how much money it would actually save in the end. You actually need to think about that, because property taxes are killing. If you were at the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioner meeting last night, they were all complaining about the 0.25% millage for health care that's coming on. So we need to start thinking outside the box and go that route, and I guarantee it'll work a lot better, and a lot of the people who don't have money will feel a lot better about things. And the last thing I'll say, Councilman Watson, you addressed the comment to me as to the commoner. Do you know people had to Google that commoner? That I'm a United States citizen, resident of Michigan, lived in Ypsilanti. Commoner is I'm not a subject to the king. I am a United States citizen. Because that matters. It really matters that you do not address who are citizens that I'm not a subject. And that probably, for the people who are trying to get the contract, they probably feel the same thing, that they're just subjects, not people. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mojgan Savabiasafani.
Oh, our mayor just spoke my name correctly for the first time in 12 years. In 12 years he wasn't able to pronounce it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm happy to see you leave because you have let down people of Ann Arbor. Many, many years you have failed to provide a lot of things for us. You haven't cleaned the Gilman dioxin contamination, no public housing for the people, no raise in minimum wage. None of that was accomplished under your leadership, and we are happy to see you go. For that reason, I have sang the song, Get Out. It's in Arabic, and I will play it for you now. You have failed to even say one word about the genocide of Palestinian people. You have failed to say one word about genocide of Lebanese, who are right now being bombed with your tax dollars. We are happy to see you go. Ann Arbor was unhappy with you and your slate, and we are happy to see them all be removed from their seats and human beings replace them. Here is the song, Get Out. Get out. Get out. Well, Ann Arbor, thank you. Thank you for voting Dr. Professor Dr. Abdul Rahman Muhammad Al-Sayed. He is a credit to his people. He will bring us a lot of good things. He's knowledgeable and he's very, very compassionate. So I'm looking forward to sending him to the Senate. I am hopeful that also Rabi, Mr. Yusuf Rabi, will bring us better things than this bunch ever did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann Arbor.
Thank you. Are there communications today from Council? Councilmember Dish.
Hi. We don't usually do this, but I wanted to let you know that I'm not going to answer your questions at the table, but if you send me an email, I would be happy to correspond with you about your project. All right? Yes, you. Yes. You asked. Sorry. Trying to look straight at you. I could look back to find your name, but yes, you're working on the housing project, and I would love to talk to you about that, so please send me an email.
Further communications from council. Councilmember Briggs.
I would just like to thank you for being a decent human.
Second. You're very kind. Further communication from council. Councilmember Cornell.
Third, on Councilmember Briggs' sentiment. I wanted to call the community's attention to the street art encounter that is happening down on Main Street on Friday, September 11th. It's from 12 to 8 p.m. There will be an open-air gallery during that time down on Main Street, various artists creating really large public art installations for you to come and enjoy and check out. There are a variety of artists who are participating, so I'm sure that there will be something for everyone, but I hope that you will come down, check it out, and enjoy all of what Main Street has to offer and support our local artists.
Further communication from council. Councilmember Rodina.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. Obviously, it's come up a couple of times already tonight, but I just wanted to congratulate all of the winners of the primary on Tuesday. Obviously, a couple of the elections did not go the way that I had hoped, but nevertheless, we will continue working together up here to make our city a better place. We will have plenty of time to thank you for your service, Mayor, and I know that we have several more months of your leadership, which I'm grateful for, and but I will continue to echo the thank you for being a patient leader up here during these meetings. Thank you.
Further communication from council. I'm waiting on a nomination coming in that hasn't quite landed, just to make sure I get her up. There it is. Perfect. Hold on, please. I would like to recommend for nomination to the Renters Commission, Hannah Stanton-Glockel. That for consideration at our next meeting. As has been observed, there was an election just a few days ago, and I would like to express my extreme gratitude to everyone who came out to vote. Voting is absolutely crucial in our form of government. It is vital that your voice be heard. We had 36,756 voters in the city of Ann Arbor, and they were processed with celerity, accuracy, and efficiency by our outstanding clerk's office. The provision of free and fair elections is one of our foundational services, and in the city of Ann Arbor, we do it well, we do it professionally, and I couldn't be more proud of the work that we do in the community that we all serve. So, clerk's office, hats off. We now have before us the consent agenda. May I have a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin, seconded by Councilmember Harrison. Discussion of the consent agenda. All in favor? All opposed? The consent agenda is approved. We now come to a set of public hearings. Thank you. The consent agenda is approved with 11 council members present, all voting the affirmative, thus satisfying the 8-vote requirement with respect to CA5, CA8, CA14, CA15, CA17, and CA18. Thank you. We now come to public hearings. Public hearings are opportunities for members of the public to speak to council and the community about the specific subject matter of the public hearing. To speak at a public hearing, you need not have signed up in advance, but your speech must relate to the specific subject matter of the public hearing. That is to say, the specific item on the agenda to which the public hearing relates. Speakers in all instances will have 3 minutes in which to speak. So please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk or the time clock will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time has expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Our first public hearing is public hearing number 1, an ordinance to amend Chapter 55, zoning, rezoning of 0.3 acres from TWP Township District to R1B Single Family Dwelling District, 615 Riverview Drive, rezoning. Is there anyone in-house who would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone online who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Mayor, I don't see anyone online for this call.
Seeing no one, this public hearing is closed. It's not really an opportunity for questions of this nature, I'm afraid. Someone want to just go out and talk to him? Erica, thank you. Public hearing number 2, an ordinance to amend Chapter 55 zoning, rezoning of 0.26 acres from TWP Township District to PL Public Land District, 2700 Fuller Road rezoning. Is there anyone in-house who would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone online who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Mayor, I don't see any callers online for this hearing.
Seeing no one, this public hearing is closed. Public hearing 3, an ordinance to amend Chapter 55, zoning, rezoning of approximately 0.84 acres from D2 downtown interface to PUD, Planned Unit Development District, 315 West Huron PUD zoning and supplemental regulations, 301, 311, 315, 317, 319 West Huron Street, and 102, 106 South First Street. Is there anyone in-house who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Jeremy Haley, Ipsy Township. Just real quick, I know this is the project that has, what, the 25-year to 99-year MISHDA option on it. Is there any way you can talk to the developer and just going for the first 25, at least go for 30, give it a little more room, wiggle room? I think would be more beneficial for the community, at least if we're going to have it there. Let's go for a little longer time, then they can decide after that if they want to go for the option of the extension, if that's any way possible, to work something out with them, because a 30-year time frame would be better than 25. Because I'm just afraid if they don't, at any 25, they're just going to end the whole thing and kick everybody out like they're doing at Walkabout Creek. And I have no idea where any of them going. I'm just concerned if you can extend that out any way, can you possibly do it just for the people that are going to be living there? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings. Once again, Luis Vasquez, 909 Barton Drive. I'm old, as you can see by my white hair. Yeah, I've loved the venue live and gone there to dance a lot and imbibe, beverages and carouse with people, and it's been fun. How dare the owners of that building want to sell it and develop something different and bigger? I noticed that in Erica Briggs's newsletter that the developer is like they're open to offering the rooftop as a new venue for live. Wow, how about that? I can go dance there too, right? I think this is a good project. I would ask that you support it and vote in the affirmative on it. But also just to point out that PUD is not my favorite form of zoning. It's like, spot zoning for, whatever purpose. And it highlights the need to do zoning reform as much as possible. I think we don't need to pause the plan, we need to step on the gas.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in House who would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone online who'd like to speak at this public hearing?
Mayor, we do have a caller. Adam Juskevich, do you have a comment?
Hi, Adam Juskevich in the 4th Ward. I'm really excited to see this come forward. I think that it's great that that this is planned for that area. I've heard some comments before from people saying that they would have preferred something like this to be built on the parking lot across the street. I agree. I think that it would be great to see that parking lot developed, but it's not owned by the people that own this building. So, I don't think that's really in the cards. So it's cool to see this, and I think that a rooftop bar will be a neat venue to hang out at. I know that a lot of people really enjoy live, and I've enjoyed live. I've enjoyed Last Word, and other places that have been in there. I used to really love as a kid the Oyster Bar and Spaghetti Machine, which was in there. I preferred the spaghetti to the oysters, but yeah, I think this is great. I like the sustainability features, the all electric. I like the idea of having that pedestrian plaza and the public access across the back to Washington Street. So yeah, please support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I don't have any other callers online for this hearing.
Seeing no one, this public hearing is closed. Public hearing number 4, an ordinance to amend Section 5.19 of Chapter 55, Unified Development Code of Title 5, Bicycle and Vehicle Parking. Is there anyone in House who would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone online who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Mayor, I don't see anyone online for this hearing.
See no one, this public hearing is closed. We have before us the regular meeting minutes of July 20, 2026. May I have a motion, please, to approve these minutes? Moved by Councilmember Watson, seconded by Councilmember Gaziano. Discussion of the minutes. All in favor? All opposed? The minutes are approved. B1, an ordinance to amend Chapter 55, zoning, rezoning of 0.3 acres from TWP Township District to R1B, Single Family Dwelling District, 615 Riverview Drive, rezoning. Moved by Councilmember Dish, second by Councilmember Malik. Discussion of B1. Councilmember Dish.
This is a very straightforward rezoning by owner request, motivated by the failure of a well and septic system on the parcel in 2025, which you can just imagine, following which the owner connected to municipal sewer and water, which means that annexation from the township into the city is required because they are now on our systems. So, approval of this ordinance will rezone this 0.3-acre parcel from township to R1B. As I believe the mayor has just said, no development is proposed, and the City Planning Commission determined that the proposed R1B zoning is consistent with the adjacent zoning, surrounding land uses, and the city's comprehensive land use plan, and recommends that we vote yes.
Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It's approved. B2, an ordinance to amend Chapter 55, zoning, rezoning of .26 acres from TWP Township District to PL Public Land District, 2700 Fuller Road, rezoning. Moved by Councilmember Dish, second by Councilmember Watson. Discussion, please, of B2. Councilmember Dish.
Another very straightforward item. The City of Ann Arbor Parks and Recreation Department purchased this quarter-acre vacant Ann Arbor Charter Township parcel as an expansion to the existing 38-acre Furstenberg Nature Area. It was purchased from Julius W. Van Dyke Dobos in December of 2025, and I hope I didn't get that name wrong and express gratitude for the sale. NAP staff and volunteers have been caring for Furstenberg since the 1990s. This rezoning obviously rezones from township to public land, and of course, no development is proposed. So,
further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. B3, an ordinance to amend Chapter 55 zoning, rezoning of approximately .84 acres from D2 downtown interface to PUD, Planned Unit Development District, 315 West Huron PUD zoning and supplemental regulations, 301, 311, 315, 317, 319 West Huron Street, and 102, 106 South First Street. Moved by Councilmember Cornell, seconded by Councilmember Briggs. Discussion, please, of B3. Councilmember Briggs.
Yes, I would like to offer a substitution, which is attached as the second attachment on Legistar, the 315 West Huron track changes supplemental regulations dated July 10th, 2026.
Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Cornell. Is that friendly? Do you want to present?
I'm happy to present.
Present, please.
Okay.
If you would read the text, that would be great.
I don't know.
Okay.
I can do that. I can do that. Yeah, I just have to open it up. That's a good idea. All right. The substitution that is within that would add into Section 4 under PUD regulations under subsection A, principal uses, that at the end of that section, it would say, I'll just read the whole paragraph now. The permitted principal and special exception uses shall be those provided in the D2 zoning district as provided in Table 5.15-1, primary use table of Section 5.15 of the Unified Development Code. Here's the addition. With the exception that short-term rentals shall be limited to no more than 10% of the residential units in the building.
Is that friendly to the body? It's friendly. Further discussion on the main motion as amended. Councilmember Briggs, you still have the floor, if you wish.
Sure, I do. Yeah, so that was, following our reading, after first reading, I think my primary concern that I had about this was just that we see more housing that is built in this location. I don't think it is clear in a subsequent conversation with the developer that their intent is also to build housing, and that is their goal. The provision of 10% versus no short-term rentals is just to simply provide a little bit of flexibility, likely during early leasing, should there need to be flexibility in that space, just to ensure that the building fills up. But the intent of the developer is to provide permanent housing. So this sort of addresses that for me. Speaking more broadly to this development, I'm excited about what we have in front of us tonight. I know we've heard some concerns, and we've received a protest petition. For me, most of those issues that are, I think all of them that are raised in that are issues that would still be present under the zoning category of D2 if we did not rezone this from D2 to PUD. So this is not changing the density that is allowed within that building. It is simply changing kind of the form of the building and allowing it to go be a little bit a taller building in order to accommodate and better serve future residents there, so that they're placed further back from the railroad tracks, and also better accommodating the significant not technically historical, but we think of it as historical building that's adjacent to the property. So for me, the request to rezone this to PUD makes sense. What's being offered in exchange is very much in line with our interest in terms of providing greater sustainability, affordability, and more community amenities. So I'm excited to see this project come in and recognize that there's going to be a change in the business and uses within that space, but that is something that happens as in our community. I'm excited to see what comes next, and excited to see how these existing businesses may find new places to relocate in the community, because the building, in this case, this is not a situation where the business is being forced out. The owners of that building are the business owners, and they are voluntarily selling.
Further discussion? Councilmember Dish.
Just to fill in a couple more details, thank you for that terrific presentation. I, too, want to acknowledge that this project will occupy the locations of two really unique and much appreciated gathering spaces in the city. Both The Last Word and Live are going to be missed, and the business owners acknowledge that, as we do and many others, but they have asked, the business owners have asked patrons and area residents for support for this project, because this is not just another high-rise. This project has been specifically designed, as Councilmember Briggs just mentioned, to respond to the context provided by the Allmendinger building, to accommodate the limitations imposed by the railroad, to preserve the access to daylight for the Allmendinger building, and respect that it should be the thing that you see most when you look at this block, that we don't want it overwhelmed. And so it comes to us as a planned unit development because only the PUD makes it possible for this project to meet those objectives, because it allows it to be taller and narrower. So that's what's happening with the PUD. This actually isn't a case where we have a zoning category or we lack something, or it's because we really have an unusual site in an infill project. So that's what we're doing. Now, the terms of the PUD, which are terms of zoning, so they will be on this parcel forever, unless someone wants to rezone it. The terms of the PUD require a fully electric building that will provide housing at a diversity of price points, comprising a mixture of studio, 1 and 2 bedroom units, and 15% of those units, as has been mentioned earlier, will be 60% AMI affordable housing. There is an option of a payment in lieu, but I think that's not being exercised, or, okay, there's an option of a payment in lieu. If it turns out to be difficult to provide the housing on site. You don't plan on. Okay, thanks, sorry. We're not supposed to do that, but you saw me looking at you. So the development agreement states that it will be housing, and the supplemental regs leave both open, makes sense. The zoning leaves it open. The development agreement says it's units. And the reason for those units is not because this is a PUD, because this PUD does not add density. It is because the developer is using a housing tax incentive financing. And for the moment, it could be a 25-year limit. That could be extended. They could be affordable beyond that period as well. That may be determined between the developer and MISHDA. So that's kind of out of our hands now. So I just want to sum up. How is this great? Full electrification, housing diversity, 15% or 42 units, income qualified, affordable at the center of the city, or what I consider the center, because that's where the Y is. And the project is not targeted towards students, although, of course, yep, they're welcome to live there.
Further discussion of the main motion is amended. Councilmember Cornell.
Ward 5 is the center of the universe. It's just the greatest. I want to echo what my colleague said. I do know the building and business owner of this, and they have asked for support for this project. And I think that as we look at the makeup of downtown and how dynamic downtown is and how it continues to change and evolve and reflect what our community needs and wants are, adding more people living downtown and contributing to our downtown scene is really exciting. As somebody who's downtown almost every day, the idea of having that many people who will be in proximity to our other hospitality businesses, our other Main Street and downtown amenities is really exciting. And so I think it's easy to focus on the things that we will miss, which my husband and I had one of our very first dates at the Last Word. So this is a place that is very special to me and has a big place in my heart, without recognizing that the building and business owners own 2 other businesses downtown and are invested in downtown and want to be downtown and see this as a way to continue the growth of those businesses and the overall success and vibrancy of the center of the city there. I think that that's really exciting. And so it's, I think, easy to be sad about what we're losing and lose sight of all that we will be gaining by having more neighbors, and especially those who will be our neighbors in Ward 5 and right downtown to support all of those businesses. So I'm hugely supportive, and I hope that there's recognition that the business and building owners are supportive, have asked for support. This is a direction that they want to go in, and they remain invested in downtown through the other businesses that they have here. They are committed to our community, and so I hope my colleagues will join me in supporting this tonight.
Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. B4, an ordinance to amend Section 5.19 of Chapter 55, Unified Development Code of Title 5, Bicycle and Vehicle Parking, moved by Councilmember Briggs, second by Councilmember Cornell. Discussion, please, of B4. Councilmember Briggs.
As I said in first reading, I am appreciative to Planning Commission for revisiting this ordinance and taking into consideration Council's discussion and bringing forward a new amendment for us to consider tonight. I'll be supporting it. I think that this is these amendments are in line with the way that we want to see our city grow. It's anticipating how the buildings that we build will be with us for some time, and so we want to make sure that those indoor accommodations for bicycle rooms are able to sufficiently serve the community now, but also into the future as we see continue to see growth in different mode shares. It also addresses, some of the amendments address the changing nature of bicycles. We are seeing a lot more cargo bicycles out at bicycle racks now, and so this would allow for additional spaces for those and additional covered spaces as well for bicycling. And then there's a whole host of other changes that were in there that we saw earlier in the spring.
Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. C1, an ordinance to add Chapter 125, Special Events, to Title 9, Police Regulations of the Code of the City of Ann Arbor, moved by Councilmember Dish, second by Councilmember Malik. Discussion, please, of C1 and introduction. I believe we have Mr. Leonard rolling in online.
Mr. Leonard is on Zoom.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for pausing and waiting for me to figure out how to use technology. We have a couple of questions as an introduction to this item. I also want to express, I know Community Services Administrator Delacourt would have loved to be here, but he is on a well-deserved vacation. Here are the questions that we received regarding this ordinance. What actual incidents or enforcement gaps prompted this ordinance, and how many events annually does staff think it will capture? This ordinance is intended to establish a permitting pathway for certain events that are presently prohibited under zoning regulations. While some of these events have occurred in practice, they are difficult to enforce under the current code. By creating a structured review and approval process similar to the permitting framework used for special events in the public right-of-way, the ordinance provides an opportunity for such events to be evaluated and, where appropriate, approved with any requirements necessary to ensure compliance and public safety rather than remaining prohibited. It is difficult to predict how many will seek to utilize such an ordinance if adopted, but based on inquiries over time, I estimate that these would be few in number each year. The ordinance clarifies that the property owner, occupant, or host must meet all required safety standards and establishes stronger sanctions for noncompliance. In recent years, the city has seen some large-scale events that pose life safety risks that far exceed normal property use, and the lack of approval or pathway or effective enforcement existed. Existing penalties specifically are so minimal that some planners of these events simply choose to pay the fine rather than comply with desired public safety insurances, and so this is the basis for providing a more enforceable framework via this ordinance. The next question, does this cover weddings, funerals on private property, religious services, campaign events, fraternity and sorority events? In short, no. These events occur in the city and they will continue. The proposed ordinance does not apply to the normal use of properties. This means the customary, routine, or permitted activities for which the property is regularly used, including its typical occupancy, operating hours, and functional purpose. A deviation from normal use occurs when it introduces entertainment, commercial, or recreational programming that would not routinely be offered at the site. It requires temporary infrastructure such as stages, portable generators, amplified sound, fencing, crowd control measures, portable restrooms, vendor booths, and might involve marketing, advertising, or ticket sale that would alter the typical occupancy pattern or traffic circulation, or is intended to attract attendance from the general public beyond the property's usual user group. The next question, how is attendance calculated and what evidence establishes that an event was, quote, intended to attract more than 100 attendees? Attendance in the ordinance is proposed to be self-reported by applicants. It's intended to provide the city with information to identify potential factors and measures to support a safe event. A revised ordinance has been attached to the agenda that alternatively defines a special event by the activities and the nature of infrastructure and equipment and installations that would be used with that event. But in any event, these are intended to identify the scale of the event in order to gauge and measure any potential safety risk to participants, attendees, or to the surrounding community, and when additional review would be necessary. The next question, why regulate private events through a universal permit instead of enforcing the particular zoning, fire, noise, occupancy, or nuisance rules apply? The development of this ordinance is in response because we've received regular inquiries and experienced such events occurring without desired checks on basic safety measures. By creating such a permit outside of zoning, it provides an appropriate pathway for coordination by multiple departments to evaluate safety, temporary infrastructure needs, and operational impacts in advance, rather than relying on zoning enforcement after the fact. The process ensures that all relevant departments are informed, understand the scope and risk of the proposed event, and can confirm with the organizer that the organizer will comply with the framework needed to safely host the event. Once an event is approved through this permit, the existing fire, building, occupancy, and some nuisance regulations will apply as they normally would. The permit simply provides the initial authorization that makes compliance with those other requirements possible. This approach is to establish a consistent and transparent method for evaluating events, coordinating safety measures, and protecting the public. The last question is, why may the administrator refer an application to council, and what objective criteria and deadlines would govern that referral? The city administrator could refer an event application to the council when the proposed event represents impacts, risk, or policy consideration that would just exceed the routine administrative discretion. A referral would ensure that events with a broader community safety or precedent-setting implications would receive review by the elected body responsible for setting such policy direction. Those were the questions received. I'm happy to address any other questions to the best of my ability.
Discussion of C1. Councilmember Briggs.
I'm talking a lot tonight. So we heard a fair amount in public comment around concerns that community members had about the overly broad scope of this new chapter, and as I wrote in my newsletter this week, I share those concerns. Currently, as was written, I think I certainly had questions about what normal usage meant, the inclusion of marches and rallies in the definition, the threshold of 100 people, the type of number of new ordinances that special events that currently take place in public spaces would now need to meet, and sort of that timeline of 60 days. I appreciate that there has been this. I also recognize that there has been this gap in sort of events that folks would like to have, but maybe there wasn't a legal pathway in, and there are also very large-scale events that the city is trying to have better regulations to address that have been detrimental because they haven't had the types of inspections that we want. And so I appreciate that Attorney Reiser has worked with a few of us over the course of the day to offer an amendment that has been uploaded to Legistar. So if the folks who have spoke earlier, they might want to take there. It has also been amended since 5:30. So anybody who took a look at it earlier, it is new since then. So, but I would like to offer as a substitution, and then I can talk about that and the changes, the amendment. It's the third attachment, dated 8/6/26.
Right here, Mike. Second by Councilmember Rodina. Discussion? Is that friendly to the body?
There's a lot, yeah. So, Attorney Reiser, would you like to speak to some of the changes between?
I can summarize for you.
Thank you.
So we added, since it was initially put up on Legistar, we added normal use of the property. What we're trying to do is allow these things, not prohibit them. So there have been some very large events on private property, and there are requests to do others, up to 2,500 people or up to 2,000 people on a parking lot, where it's currently not allowed by zoning. But we say don't do it, and last year they did it anyways in a couple different places. So we're trying to not prohibit these things, but allow them to happen, but make sure that we regulate them for health, safety, welfare. For instance, a stage has to have, you just can't put a stage together and have a bunch of people on it, electricity on it, lights on it, screens on it. So those type of things under the building code need to have a plan with the stamp by a professional engineer and or an architect. And people who are in the business of planning these things know that, but not everybody knows that, or not everybody who knows that cares enough to do it when we say don't do it. Generators have to be installed by licensed electricians to make sure that they're properly grounded, because you could have an event with a couple thousand people, maybe not that many, but certainly several hundred people, and I'm going on too much. I'll yield. I got hours on this stuff, and so does Chief Kennedy.
I just wonder, perhaps you could summarize for some of the changes between what was up there and then what this new ordinance is. I'm also happy to do that.
Normal use of the property, we added that concept. We also, because of concerns that council members expressed to us, that we're not trying to, like there's a bike ride that might have 100 people that we're not trying to squash. So we've added, intended to attract more than 250 people as a special event. So that number, that 100 has gone up to 250 people, and that was after a discussion earlier today with police and fire and other departments. With respect to the 60 days advance that some people have brought up about. 60 days is a long time, but if you're trying to put up a stage and you need an engineer, not everything happens on the first time through if it doesn't meet code. So there needs to be a back and forth. So it now says on page 2, an application for a special event permit should be submitted at least 60 days in advance of the proposed event. Applications submitted fewer than 60 but at least 30 days before the event may not provide sufficient time for the city to review the application, coordinate operational needs, and adjust the plan. And so it says should be 60, but if it's 30 and 60, we're going to try our darndest, and they usually do get to them, but they need time to review permits, really for the building and the stage and the tents and the barricades and all that type of thing. I don't know if Chief Kennedy has anything to add in that regard or about the ordinance in general.
Happy to answer any. Good evening, Mayor and Council. happy to answer any questions. The 60 and 30, we want to get to yes. I mean that is the goal here. We already have one that pending. If this ordinance is passed, they want to do this academic year. We're all kind of gearing up because the students are going to be here for a weekend and there's no football game. So there's a lot of other activities that are trying to occur. That usually football creates a welcome distraction for those of us in the public safety arena. That's not there. So we're going to have this whole weekend of full university and nothing there. For this particular event, what they submitted wasn't even remotely close in terms of capacity, egress, distance, egress width. And so by them submitting it earlier, we're able to look at it, review it, hey, this is what you need to adjust and kick it back. If they're real short on that timeline, then we might deny it. And there's just not enough time left for them to kind of kick it back and for us to work with them on that. Some background that might be helpful on this. Post-COVID, every single year, we've had a request from one or multiple off-campus housing, generally fraternities, for a concert. And from 21 through 24, police would meet with them, fire would meet with them, building would meet with them. We would go out to the location, and we're like, there's just not a way for this to happen. And to Mr. Reiser's point and Mr. Leonard's point, that also was this was against zoning as well, too. I mean, these were going to be commercial, enterprise, ticketed, huge stage production things, very much not in the nature of these residential areas that these occupancies are in. In 2025, they just decided we're going to do it anyway. And massive stage, tents, this happened at 2 different locations, portable diesel generators parked between houses, significant life safety concerns with both of them. For both of them, we as the fire department had to order them to remove all of the fencing. We got building involved, and these were 2 back-to-back nights that we were dealing with this at 2 different locations. And from the fire side, they addressed the immediate life safety issue, but then there are all these building issues that Mr. Reiser talked about. And generally for building, there's rarely kind of an emergency building issue. And so they gladly paid the fines, which is very rare for us to deal with that with. Generally, local contractors, they aren't just like, well, we're going to do it anyway, we don't care. And that's literally what these production companies said. We're going to do it anyway, we don't care unless you legally stop us. So this gives us an avenue for, quite honestly, some of these bad actor production companies that just are going to, and this particular one was out of Texas. They got a contract to come in here, the next day they were going to be wheels up and gone. So, and it took a tremendous amount of staff time for both those nights to really kind of deal with this. So anyway, that's some background. Thank you.
Is the amendment friendly to the body? On the amendment?
Yes. Which of the attachments? The first one. Okay, because the third one does not have 250 in it, so it is the first one. Okay. Thank you.
Jackie might know that.
Councilmember Briggs, it was probably moved to the top.
The circled portions are what we added today based on comment.
Thanks. Question on the amendment? Councilor,
I'm happy to do a second discussion about what has changed.
All right, so we are, thank you. There may be more. We are having discussion on the amendment. Councilmember Rodina.
Yeah, I'm asking this on the amendment largely because it's the language in the amended portion. So I guess I still have some questions around public versus private, and specifically this says like special events do not include private gatherings. I'm thinking about, I don't particularly love them, but some of the house parties and tailgates on football Saturday near campus probably get pretty close to the number of students that are there. Is that a private gathering, or is that a public gathering if students have been invited from across campus to attend? And are we suddenly going to be out citing a bunch of house parties on football Saturday if they, what differentiates between a private house party and a, concert where you've got a DJ coming in?
And it's really temporary infrastructure such as stages. Like there's frat parties are going to happen at frat houses. That's happened and it's going to happen, and we get that. But what we say in that's the normal use of a frat house, the party. But what we're revise that. But most of those parties don't require temporary infrastructure such as stages, portable generators, amplified sound, well, maybe amplified sound, but fencing and crowd control measures, portable restrooms, vendor booths involving marketing, advertising, and ticket sale, and alters typical occupancy patterns or traffic circulation, and is intended to attract attendance from the general public beyond the property's usual occupants. And the usual occupants are people going to frat parties.
I'm not even just talking about the frat parties. I think there are house parties that at some of the bigger houses near campus get pretty big attendance. They actually do have temporary fencing up. They clearly have amplified sound. They probably are selling tickets to their fellow students. At what point are we policing those as part of not, signing up 60 days in advance? I guess I also wonder about the extent to which that this would apply to, a candlelight vigil held at a church, is that a normal activity if they're going to put up, if they're going to have amplified sound, or if they're going to have, I guess I'm just still struggling, with how we're determining the private property aspect of it, and what is a normal use of that property for someone. It's just not totally clear to me at this stage that this is flushed out enough for me to feel comfortable with the uses and exactly what would be included.
Okay.
Got Councilmember Gaziano?
Actually, Mr. Leonard has his hand up if he wants to.
Thank you. Mr. Leonard.
Thank you. It's hard to be ignored over here on the screen. Just to follow up on that last conversation, to contextualize, we are a city that embraces special events. From a report from our police department, we have been averaging around 250 events per year over the last 2 years. So I just want to emphasize a couple things. One, we do our best to find ways to yes to these, and that's to find ways to make sure that these events are safe, secure. So the majority, you see them on a regular basis on your agenda for public space events, making sure that we're thinking about those things. I just want to emphasize, this is providing another avenue for a different type of event to occur in our community within that context. I also just want to be honest that I fancy my colleagues across the organization as brilliant. It is very, very difficult, even with that brilliance, to draft the perfect articulation and identify and predetermine which events are going to fall into what categories. And I want to be clear that part of this is trying to find an appropriate balance where the majority of the types of events we're hearing about, we're going to provide this avenue for them to occur. I will be honest with you, there will be some outlier in the future that we have not contemplated or might not fit directly into this, and we're going to have to face that in the future. But I just want to emphasize that with a long commitment to supporting special events of all times, of all types, and across a lot of forms across the city, this is providing another opportunity to expand upon that in a really safe and effective manner. And I also just want to be honest that it for some of the questions that you heard from commenters, for some of the questions that you have, it's really challenging to draw an absolute bright line that is going to be clear for all of us to understand. And so this is really trying to identify the scale of those developments, as Attorney Reiser is indicating, that have a certain type of infrastructure associated with it, some sort of marketing, so we can make sure that they are providing an opportunity for these events to happen safely, and importantly, to provide a higher level of enforcement opportunity when they're not provided safely to help head off really concerns about those happening without the due diligence of our public safety professionals and the like. Thanks for letting me address.
Councilor Ghazi-Edwin on the amendment.
I had some of the same questions that Councilmember Radina did. And I guess, one of the things that it seems to be kind of defining, because obviously there's, policies that exist right now, we're not capturing certain events. And it seems like these big concerts that students are having. It seems like the defining thing is almost the commercialization, like the marketing of it. And at the same time, I agree that, like, how about a No Kings protest? That was a concern that was raised to us. They have a stage, they send out a flyer. Again, that could be different. It's not necessarily selling tickets, right? I wonder if some of this will hinge on just enforcement. I'm wondering, because these events are mostly happening within University of Michigan on campus by students, is there a coordination that's planned with Department of Public Safety, or are we just planning to kind of rely on self-reporting? Like, could Department of Safety say there's a house that has flyers, they're bringing in a DJ?
So I know Chief Anderson's at National Night Out, so that's why he's not here this evening. Ann Arbor Police Department, Fire Department's also been part of it following the events of 2025. There's an organization called Campus Collab, which is public safety, U of M PD, U of M Public Safety, and Student Life, which is under the Greek Life is under Student Life, and there's weekly meetings in the fall. And basically we go over everything from anything that they're aware of, and all of the registered affiliated Greek Life organizations have to report what they're doing. So there is a fantastic communication method, and we have been in monthly contact with them since August of last year about this very issue, about trying to kind of work with stuff, and we could not be more on the same page of, we want to allow these events, we want them to be done safely. So as we find out about stuff, we share it with them, and vice versa. So that system is in place, and it's very positive.
That's great to hear. And I just want to clarify, because I brought the No Kings example, I do see that in the amendment, it does not cover a First Amendment expressive event, so it would not apply to a protest like that. Is that correct?
But special events says, special events do not include private gatherings, First Amendment expressive activities, right, so I think that answers your question directly.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that.
Councilor Cornell, on the amendment.
On the amendment, yes. When we're talking about temporary stages and couch burning, and I'm going to steal Councilmember Ackman's "Da Baby" reference from MSU, was there any consideration given as this was amended to, this is really isolated to near campus area, like in my mind, and so it's almost like we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, is that the right? But anyway, I think, was there any consideration around having this be like geofenced to a perimeter around campus or something? Like, I don't understand. It feels overly limiting, even with the amended uses.
There was not consideration for geofencing, to answer your question directly. We thought we would try to hone in on what we're trying to regulate through the words and what is included and what is exempted.
Mr. Leonard?
I was just going to add that we do provide for some of these uses in our P parking districts. This was an amendment that was created a while ago to try to provide some flexibility to those uses, but it does not apply to any other district across the city. And so I agree. Like, I would echo, we didn't talk about geolocation because, frankly, this would also be an opportunity for if there was a property owner who desired this outside of whatever that is, it still provides a method for us to evaluate it to make sure that event is happening in a safe manner.
I've got Ackman, then Briggs on the amendment, and then perhaps we vote on the amendment. It seems that we're kind of moving this into on the merits and rather than merely the amended language. Ackman, then Briggs. I'm sorry, Cornell, I think you still got time. My apologies.
I'm cool.
All right. I know you're cool, but you still got time. Councilmember Ackman.
Sorry, I think it's a little bit hard to talk because so much has changed from the original thing, so it's a little difficult to focus on discussion of the amendment. But, I've seen the videos from the DaBaby concert that was at Rush Week last year, and I can understand why it presented safety concerns given the number of people and the lack of being able to evaluate the installation of electric and all of that. And I also know that, as Councilmember Cornell indicated, same concert was planned for Michigan State, and I believe that the university shut it down. So I do appreciate that we're trying to focus on a way that we can actually allow these kinds of events to happen. But I still feel like with the amended language, which I do appreciate because I think it's getting us closer, I still look at an event that I signed up for today, which is Marlon James is giving a book reading. Literati is sponsoring it. It's going to be held at a church. It's being ticketed. It's probably going to be large. He's quite popular. If I look at the way that this is written and I read the list of things as being or, has fencing or is ticketed or is to the general public, I see this as potentially covering things that I really don't think that the government wants to get meddle in. At least I don't. So again, and when I hear you describe the types of events that we're concerned about, thousands of people, but then we have 250, it seems like there's a huge disparity between what we're actually trying to, what we need to ensure the safety of and other smaller events. And I appreciate what Mr. Leonard said about, we're not going to have the perfect thing, but I still think that this feels like it casts too wide of a net.
Councilmember Briggs on the amendment.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, when I saw this, I was prepared to vote to postpone this, to amend, I was not supportive of Chapter 125. I think there has been a lot of work that makes me comfortable enough to say we could take this from first to second reading, and I don't know if we should support it in second reading. I think we should take some time to look at this and get feedback. I understand what our public safety officials and planning department is trying to achieve, and I think that, I agree with them that we have a big gap and we have an issue that we need to address. I think a number of the amendments that have been put into place today address the concerns that were raised in public comment and honestly the concerns that have been raised around the table tonight. So to Councilmember Ackman's recent comment, in subsection 3, there is new inclusion of language that says that it needs to, that normal use includes, it's stages, portable generators, amplified sound, fencing, crowd control measures, portable restrooms, or vendor booths, and it involves marketing, advertising, and ticket sales. So it can't be one or the other. Some of these ors have been changed out a little bit to be able to more narrowly scope this. I don't personally know whether the 250 number is the right number. I think we should contemplate that more. But we have included, since this came to us, language that, makes sure that it, under what actually a special event is, that it doesn't include private gatherings, that it's not meant to include First Amendment expressive activities, which are things that we brought up at the table tonight and public commenters brought up. Under special events on public properties, which is an area that I had concerns with, we've included the word gathering. So it does not include a block party, funeral procession, gathering, or a group demonstration, other expression of free speech. So a gathering includes runs, bike rides, those pieces. So I think this is much more narrowly scoped than what staff initially gave to us, which makes me much more comfortable because I think it was way too broadly scoped in the sense that we were going to be limiting activities that I had no desire to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as was previously suggested. So I'm comfortable enough with the amendments to take this from first to second and give community and ourselves and staff more time to take a look at this and then determine whether or not it needs more work. And if it does, then we should postpone it from there. But it at least potentially gets us along the timeline that staff has presented. And I agree it deserves more scrutiny.
Further discussion of the amendment. Roll call vote on the amendment, starting with Councilmember Watson.
Councilmember Watson?
Yes.
Councilmember Malik?
Yes.
Councilmember Redina?
Yes.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Iyer?
Yes.
Councilmember Ackman?
Yes.
Councilmember Briggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Cornell?
Yes.
Councilmember Dish?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Further discussion on the main motion as amended. I think I had Councilmember Ackman. Further discussion? Oh my. All right. Sorry. Let's go with Councilmember Malik first, then.
I had a question. I was surprised to see block party brought up in this, and it seemed to have been brought up more as in to make sure it did not include block party. Would this ordinance, if in effect, would it change anything related to block party applications, how block parties operate, anything like that? That is still its own separate permit process?
Not at all.
Okay, thank you.
I've got Redina, Watson, Ghazi Edwin, Dish. Nope. Redina.
Thank you. So I agree with Councilmember Briggs that I think that this moves us in a potentially better direction, but I also worry that in adding all of these things, we're actually unintentionally creating some loopholes. I was sitting here chatting with Councilmember Malik. I mean, it seems very clear that we have an idea of what we are trying to encompass in this, and rather than saying that, we're trying to create kind of like these broad exemptions. I worry, I mean, the thing that I mentioned is if, we have an artist who comes to campus and is going to perform at a house party and we're going to have 1,000 people there and they bill it as a concert against the government, is that a First Amendment protected activity, right? Like, I think we have potentially created some loopholes in trying to make sure that the things that we don't want to regulate aren't regulated, rather than simply saying, these are the things that we're including. So while I think good work has gone into this, and I appreciate staff for kind of hearing these concerns and working on it, I actually don't think I'm going to support moving it forward tonight because I don't think it's ready yet. I would potentially entertain postponement, but if we do vote to move it forward, I'm going to vote no.
Councilmember Watson.
I guess I'm sympathetic to this ordinance as a tool for staff. To be able to be able to allow for these kind of events, or to be able to assess, to say, at least if you have an idea for an event, at least submit it to us. Let us see if you have a safe plan. Let's see if there's a glaring error. Suggest areas to fix, and kind of work from there. So I see it being useful in allowing staff to be able to have feedback and to know that something's going to happen, rather than having to arrive later on and see this violation, shut it down, when with a few changes earlier on it could have proceeded with no real problem. But I also agree with some of what my colleagues have said. I wonder if it might be better to have to define it as sort of like a concert permit, or a temporary stage permit, because it seems like, or generator. You've mentioned Attorney Reiser, especially. You've mentioned specific things that are really problematic and have caused dangerous situations. But I think it might be better to go at those things rather than try to describe them as a sort of expression, but describe them by the event and not necessarily by the specific thing that we don't like to see. And maybe if people had a ability to apply for a permit, knowing that it would be by type of event rather than this broad, like, and I think it sounds like the one that we're really narrowing in on again is sort of concert, amplified stages, that kind of thing. So I would be supportive of a postponement, I'd say.
Councilmember Dish.
I just wanted to ask if I misheard, or was there a sense of urgency about the impending, which is on my mind all the time, onset of the term and unsupervised do-it-yourself play because there's no football game the first weekend? Did I hear that?
Yeah, so we're aware of 2 concerts that they have submitted, and I think it demonstrates staff, like, we've tried to work with them. We're like, this may happen, no commitments have been made, obviously it has to be approved by this body, but we tried to tee it up that should everything line up, we could have reviewed it. And so just to directly answer your question, if we don't have the system in place, we don't have a system to approve it, so then we move to enforcement, because I know they've booked the act.
Right.
So we kind of get to, unfortunately, a repeat of 2025 of us having to do on-site street enforcement, and I'm leveraging fire code, police are leveraging noise ordinance, Attorney Reiser is having to leverage the building code, and do we wake up a magistrate for a cease and desist order? So yeah, the weekend, the last weekend of this month is going to be very challenging for public safety.
Okay. I think we've made some really great comments at the table tonight. And I hear Mr. Leonard when he says, despite the brilliance of everyone on staff at the city, no ordinance is ever perfect. And so I'm wondering if we can't, I am inclined, I do not mean to suggest, I'm not speaking for we, I just mean I am inclined to vote this forward, try it out this fall, be very, I think we've been very clear at the table that expressions of free speech are exempted from this. And so many of the concerns that were raised during the public comment period are simply not germane to what this is going after, and not likely to get caught up in it. And this can be tweaked. That we do it all the time. We make things and then we improve them. I know that we don't want our ordinances to be filled with imperfect ordinances, but this is not a disastrously imperfect ordinance. It's just it's a first attempt to better manage things that are otherwise a safety risk. There have been some events this summer that have caused some distress in residents, and I would prefer that we have something like this controlled than not. But I don't feel, yeah, I'm going to just go because my time is up. So,
Councilmember Cornell.
I don't know who this is a question for. It really just, I think I'm struggling because I thought exactly what Councilmember Redina said, which was if I really wanted to have a party, I'd figure out how to have a party. And I know that we have various ordinances where, a certain size stage has to have a different type of permit. And we're talking about people that are already breaking all of our rules and we're expecting them to apply for a permit. I don't really see that happening with, no offense to college students, you're awesome. And we love you in Ann Arbor, but I don't see that happening 100% of the time. So I think what I'm struggling with is how big of a problem is this in terms of the amount of times that it actually happens. I think that would be helpful context. And then the second part is, I know I asked about the geofencing, geolocation or whatever, but you're basically saying people are breaking laws knowingly and they're willing to pay the fine. I don't see how this would be any different. And so I'm trying to understand what we're solving when it feels like a very small problem isolated to a very small part of town to a very small group of people.
Please.
I can, so low frequency, high consequence. So we definitely find these in first welcome weekend. September is absolutely the target range when we deal with this. Are we dealing with dozens? Absolutely not. This is probably 3, 4, maybe half a dozen, but it's several thousand. And the big issue for us from a life safety perspective is these are ticketed events, so they're using usually 8 or 10 foot chain link fence so we're creating significant crowd crush concerns, we're creating significant egress concerns. Even if unintentional, there's a stand knocks over, it's a bang, people panic, and that's where, again, unfortunately, there's not a lot, but it's just these few. To the credit of several of the big ones, they have reached out, and the other ones we were able to, because the other part too is they're doing the math. If we bring in this act, they cost so much, how many tickets, and that's the other part, and that's also been prior to 25. The math didn't work because we were like, well, yeah, you can do this here, but this is going to be your occupancy limit, and they couldn't make it financially work, so they walked away. Last year, they just did it anyway. I think really hoping that they weren't going to get caught.
And we do have, to your question and to your point, we do have current ordinances that we can pursue enforcement under the zoning code, under the building code, either for a stage that doesn't have a permit or stamp, or a generator that didn't have the benefit of an electrician pulling a permit and checking it out to make sure it's safe. We've got potential fire code violations and noise ordinances. So we do have tools that we can use. This ordinance, primarily, one of the things it would do, it would allow them to happen, because right now they're not because of zoning, but it would also give the city tools. It's a civil infraction up to $1,000 that can be pursued against the person who hosted it, the property owner, or the occupant. So imagine a fraternity property that's owned by an LLC or a REIT out in California, but it's rented by a fraternity, but then there's a promoter locally, and then they use people in Texas to come in and run the whole thing. So we can pursue enforcement against whomever it is that didn't heed our ordinance, and sometimes intentionally so. It also allows misdemeanor enforcement, not that we would use that, but it exists potentially if you contravene an order by building, fire, or police based on the city code, because they might say, don't use this generator, it's not inspected, or don't use that stage or that fence, and they do it anyway. So it gives us more tools in the toolbox to hold people who don't heed them. But we do have current ordinances.
Councilmember Royer?
Thank you.
Do you want me to go?
No, I'll be brief. I think I'm inclined to just vote this down. I think this needs to go back to the drawing board. Councilmember Ackman and I were kind of musing here, like, isn't all art, don't all musical artists kind of consider themselves expressing free speech? I think I would rather get at in the ordinance the actual things that are causing the issues, the generators, the stage, the things that are providing this, that are causing the safety issues. It feels just overly complicated. And I think it's going to be too easy for folks to get around. So that's my feeling. Thanks.
For my part, appreciating those several cautions, I put a lot of weight on the low incident, high consequence problem. Low incident, high consequence risk. We've heard from our safety professionals that we do not have sufficient tools to incentivize people who put on concerts with hundreds, perhaps thousands of people in residential areas under conditions that are, if not actually extremely unsafe, run the risk of being unsafe because of the absence of proper planning, inspecting, etc. Appreciating that there are swirls and eddies in the document we have before us, I'll also just observe the calendar. And we've heard, and whether, I'll observe the calendar, and we're here today. Today, we're on the calendar to get this forward in a way that would at least put it up, as I understand it, for September in a sufficient time to give staff the ability to incentivize compliance with these crucial health and safety regulations. I'm prepared, understanding the swirls and eddies, to vote yes today and to encourage its passage later, and then provide, perhaps follow on after its passage for request to have it modified so as to be in line with some of the thoughtful commentary today for next cycle. But for now, we've got concerts on the horizon. They will present health safety issues. We don't have the ability to incentivize compliance. This will provide that ability. I'm going to vote yes. Councilmember Malik.
I have one last question. Most of our discussion tonight has centered around events on private property. Is it correct to say that this would also move events on public property to this special event permit, thus removing council purview over events on public property to administrative review?
Yes. Currently, there's public events have to apply, and then they make their way to city council, generally through the consent agenda. And there's Administrator Mahoney has proposed a new agenda item for administrative communications. I don't want to get that wrong. And then to the extent that something is so controversial, unique, wants input from the council on, he would put it on the agenda for your consideration. But most public events are routine, run of the mill, and they're there really so that the public and you folks can know about them, because they routinely get just passed on consent. And they'll still continue to be on the agenda for the public and you to know about special events on public property. Special events on public property aren't driving the changes on this ordinance, obviously.
Thank you. Councilor Gaziano. Sorry. Further discussion. Councilor Ackman.
So I appreciate what you said, Mayor, about not having the tools to address these, but it seems like I don't know, I'm getting a little bit mixed up between, like, are we trying to allow these events to happen, or are we do we think that they're mostly going to be shut down? And if they're mostly going to be shut down, it seems to me like we have tools to do that, including working with the university. Do we think it's appropriate for a 2,000-person concert to be in the middle of a neighborhood? I mean, I don't know. So I'm struggling with this because I do want you to have the appropriate tools to address safety concerns. I feel like we do. We were maybe caught unaware last year by some bad actors. But it seems like if you have the calendar of events that are going on at these fraternities, like, we kind of know what the pattern is. So I don't know what I'm going to vote yet.
For my part, I'll I appreciate what I heard staff say is that they presented the full set of objections and the full set of present sanctions to the organizers, and the organizers said, "Thank you, we'll take it." What we did not have at the time was a misdemeanor punishable by 90 days in jail or a $10,000 fine. And with the passage of this ordinance, we will. And so presently, we do not have the same incentives that this provision will provide. That was my speaking time. That was my last speaking time.
But they can shut it down, though.
We would have
If it's-
we'd have to go to court. We'd have to go to court, and we'd have to, it's a little bit of a high standard to say that it's going to be, that someone's going to get hurt, and someone probably isn't going to get hurt, but to the chief's point, someone could get hurt. So I don't know that there'd be the legal standard, I don't know that we meet our burden for getting emergency injunctive relief to shut down a party that happens every year and no one's gotten hurt yet.
On the fire side, we have the legal ability to remove the hazardous condition. So in both cases, they removed all of the fencing, which eliminated the immediate kind of life safety issues. The stage, the electrical, there's definitely some code issues there. It's a little bit more difficult for me to say, like, this is an immediate life safety threat. Things such as occupancy, egress, those are black and white, legally defendable cases of we have full authority in that realm. It was the other stuff where they're just, to the mayor's point, we're happy to pay the fine and charge ahead. So that's.
Further discussion? Roll call, please, starting with Council Member Watson on first reading.
Councilmember Watson?
Yes.
Councilmember Malik?
No.
Councilmember Radina?
No.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Iyer?
No.
Councilmember Ackman?
No.
Councilmember Briggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Cornell?
No.
Councilmember Dish?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
No.
Motion fails.
We now have DS1, resolution to approve 315 West Huron, 301, 311, 315, 317, 319 West Huron Street, and 102, 106 South First Street PUD site plan 260004, and development agreement. Moved by Councilmember Dish, seconded by Councilmember Cornell. Discussion, please, of DS1. Councilmember Dish.
There's not much to say. We said a lot about the site plan when we talked about the zoning. In the development agreement that is attached to this item, it does state that units will be on site, 15% affordable. Unless you want to look at the actual map and see where the trees are going to be, you know there's an outdoor public passage, the Bicentennial Plaza, great stuff. Bicentennial Plaque Plaza. So I don't think I want to go into any more detail with you all at this late time, knowing what we have in front of us. So there you are. Planning Commission says yes, and I recommend yes too, and I'm going to vote yes.
Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It's approved. DS2, resolution authorizing summary publication of Ordinance 26-1, an ordinance to amend Section 5.19 of Chapter 55 Unified Development Code of Title 5 of the Code of the City of Ann Arbor, moved by Councilmember Cornell, second by Councilmember Iyer. Discussion, please, of DS2. All in favor? All opposed? It's approved. DC1, resolution to approve amendment to the council rules, moved by Councilmember Iyer, seconded by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin. Discussion, please, of DC1. Councilmember Iyer.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a new council rule that the council admin committee has been working on for at least a couple of months now. This rule seeks to codify a very simple principle, that the people's business should be conducted when the people are awake, not in the middle of the night. So for years, Ann Arbor City Council meetings routinely stretched until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Residents who wanted to watch their government in action or follow an issue they care about or attend a public hearing had to stay up for hours just to reach those agenda items. Most people couldn't, and that made our meetings inaccessible to the very public we serve. Those marathon meetings didn't have to happen. There was a culture on council of members using council meetings to ask questions they should have asked beforehand and to give lengthy speeches on every agenda item. Our council rules already make it clear that it's every council member's responsibility to prepare in advance of meetings, to become familiar with the agenda, to submit questions to staff or colleagues beforehand, and to arrive fully prepared. This rule reflects that expectation by recognizing that well-prepared councils should not routinely need to meet until the early hours of the morning in order to conduct the public's business. Indeed, since the 2022 election, marathon meetings are no longer the norm. And that's precisely because council members, to a person at this table, come prepared. They ask questions of staff before the meeting. They arrive ready to deliberate and vote. So why adopt this rule now? because good government should not depend on culture or personalities at the table. It should be reflected in our rules. Today's council has shown that meetings can be both efficient and deliberative. This amendment makes that the expectation for future councils as well. Let's be clear about what this rule does not do. It does not suppress debate. It does not force council to end discussion at 11. It does not apply to public comment overflow. It simply says that after 11 p.m., council will not take up a new voting item unless a majority of council decides to extend the meeting. This rule puts accessibility first. Residents should not have to stay awake until 3 o'clock in the morning to watch or participate in a public meeting. If a majority believes an issue must be heard that night, we can vote to extend the meeting. Otherwise, the remaining items simply move to the beginning of the next regular meeting. Open government means conducting the people's business when the people are awake, and they can participate in it and hold us accountable, and that's what this rule accomplishes.
Further discussion? All in favor? Oh, was there a question? I'm sorry. Councilmember Ackman, my apologies.
Sorry, and I'm sorry I didn't ask this ahead of time. Allow me to give a lengthy speech. You just you answered a lot of the questions that I came to this with, so I appreciate that. One of the remaining questions that I have is just clarification on, I think you said that the overflow items would be moved to the start of the following meeting. When you say start, does that mean before the consent agenda, before any staff, but does it truly mean the beginning of the meeting, or, yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
They'll go in the section that they're supposed to be in. So DC items would go in DC section, but they'll be the first thing in that section.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. Do we have the pleasure of a closed session today?
Indeed, we do. I would like to request a closed session per MCL 15.268(1)H to discuss a memo sent to council on August 3rd, 2026.
We have a motion, please, to go into closed session on that basis. Moved by Councilmember Cornell, seconded by Councilmember Malik. Discussion? Roll call vote, please, starting with Councilmember Watson.
Councilmember Watson?
Yes.
Councilmember Malik?
Yes.
Councilmember Medina?
Yes.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Iyer?
Yes.
Councilmember Ackman?
Yes.
Councilmember Briggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Cornell?
Yes.
Councilmember Dish?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
We have a motion carries.
We're in closed session. to open session. Moved by Councilmember Iyer, seconded by Councilmember Cornell. All in favor? All opposed? We are in open session. We have before us the clerk's report of communications, petitions, and referrals. May I have a motion, please, to approve the clerk's report? Moved by Councilmember Adair, seconded by Councilmember Graziano. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? The clerk's report is approved. Do we have the pleasure from communications from our city attorney?
No, thank you, Mayor.
May I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Councilmember Cornell, seconded by Councilmember Malik. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? We're adjourned.